Okay, cool. So it's actually your birthday today.
Yep.
No, happy birthday.
Thank you. And it was yours yesterday, right? So happy birthday, Elle. When's yours, Alan? Yours was yesterday, right?
Mine was the day before. Mine was Thursday. Elle's was Friday.
We're on a row.
Yeah, Terry's was St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm. So it goes one after the next. It goes him, Alan, me, you.
It's cute.
So all really close together.
Me, August.
Yeah, he's not one of the birthday pals.
not a pal.
Cool.
So, hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Happy birthday. A couple days later, but
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Dean.
Oh yeah, happy birthday all around.
yeah. So what did you guys do for your birthdays, or what are you going to do? Anybody can go.
I went to Busch Gardens. I went to Busch Gardens and I saw the orangutans and I rode the roller coasters. And it was delightful. It's my favorite place on earth is Busch Gardens. And so that is what I did. It was much fun.
My husband gave me a night in a hotel away from my children.
Nice.
So I just actually got back like 20 minutes ago. I spent 24 hours by myself, reading and playing video games and not having to take care of anyone. And it was awesome.
So for your birthday.
That's dope. My wife made a cake. I didn't really do anything. I saw Q. We just sat and ate pizza and cake, and that's really it. So it was pretty chill.
Pizza and cake is good. Thank you, everybody, for all the birthday wishes. We were just saying that we're all in a row. So it goes TG first, then Alan, then me, then Hillary. So one after the next. But I was going to say, so what video games were you playing while you had time away from the children?
Well, right now I'm playing the new Paper Mario Origami King. Paper Mario was like my favorite video game as a kid, the OG one from N64 and the follow-up on GameCube. And I hated the Wii one. Sorry, this is going to be way too exploratory. I hated that one. And so I was super excited about this new one. It's okay. I'm enjoying it, but it just doesn't hit that old feeling for me that it used to, but it's still fun.
Oh, no.
So
that was tragic for me to hear. I haven't played it yet.
He's more of like the Nintendo gamer, and I've always been more of the PlayStation. And so we have a Switch now, and every now and then he'll play the games. And when he plays Mario, which one do you have?
What is the
Super Mario, right?
I know what's the
whatever one of the new ones. I'm like, it's not the old one though.
Oh, Odyssey.
Yeah, we have Odyssey. That was good. We have we have our N64 still, so I'll hook it up and play it. Actually I still enjoy it. You can still play it. Like, it's much better than the Wii one. So I would still recommend you play it. It's just doesn't have the same magic as the old ones in my opinion. But I'm a PS4 gamer too. I'm just waiting for the new Dragon Age, which will be like 2 years from now.
Man, they need to fix the Inquisition problem.
Hit the button.
Like, okay, I love Dragon Age 1. I am one of the people who love Dragon Age 2 as well, just for, if nothing, for the Anders storyline. Are you kidding me? But then, with freaking Inquisition, they made the cardinal sin and gave me boring characters.
No, I loved Inquisition, Alan. I'm so sorry. I loved Inquisition. I played 250 hours of Inquisition. I played it over and over again.
Can I say two things real quick? One, so I had to go get some food real quick. So I have some crafty crab. So I might be eating in the midst of this. I apologize. I'm hungry, so please don't hold that against me. And two, I got to jump on the bandwagon with Hillary because Inquisition was dope. I probably put in 200 hours on Inquisition. The Inquisitor, what you mean? The Bull was a great character.
Iron Bull was
great. Which means I think the villain of the next one is going to be the elf guy, right? What's his name?
Solus. Yeah,
Solus was pretty dope.
That is awesome.
I like Solus.
Yeah. What about Dorian?
Dorian was pretty dope. He was cool.
Did you play the first two?
I played the first two. I played them all, and I love Inquisition was dope. And again, it was controversial, but I enjoyed Inquisition as well.
So I liked Inquisition, but I just didn't like it as much as the first two. I did like the stuff at the end with Solus. I thought that was cool, and I think that what they're going to do with 4 with him is going to be really awesome. And I 100%ed Inquisition, so I finished it. It's just I didn't like the companions as much as I liked the first two, which is probably the biggest deal. Oh, and the bad guy, the cordyceps or whatever he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was okay.
Yeah, he was lame. I'll give you that, Alan. Especially by the time you finish the game, because I'm one of those people who has to complete the entire game before I beat a final
100%,
boss.
100%.
And they didn't know how to level him up. So by the time you get to that final battle,
you get to the final boss with all the super armor, you were like
just
this.
knock him down.
Like, get out of here.
and you feel like they should know that people playing their games are completionists, and they should have a way to level up that final boss so it feels.
I feel like in Final Fantasy, you have to play everything else to beat the final bosses. The final bosses are so much more difficult than most of the rest of the game, usually. I remember in the original Final Fantasy VII, for those that have played it, having to breed the stupid chocobos.
If you didn't have Knights of the Round, you couldn't beat Sephiroth.
Yeah, exactly.
He healed too much. His regen was too high.
It's ridiculous. Have you played the remake?
All those stupid chocobo races. And then in Final Fantasy X, I am one of those people. This isn't going to make any sense to anybody who's like, I don't know what they're talking about. But the chocobo races through the calm lands, you have to get the balloons. And getting 0 time, because the balloons take down your time. I have accomplished that several times in my life. After hours and hours and hours of being like, and then like trying again, and then getting angry, and then trying again.
It's really fun to watch. Really cool time.
Did you ask about the remake?
Oh yeah, did you play the remake, Elliot?
Yeah, I haven't completed it all the way. We still need to finish the very end because once we got
it is hot garbage.
Hot garbage?
Well,
it just came on PlayStation Plus, so I downloaded it. But I haven't played it yet, and I was wondering how.
Okay, so Alan and I are at slight disagreements here. So sorry, the ice cream truck is out. So if you
I run out and chase the ice cream truck in my.
You gotta go get some. It's your birthday.
Yes, that will be the wholesome music you may hear. But so I think 7 remake looks beautiful. They do change some things with the original story, and that's fine, I guess. But I actually kind of like the gameplay. Alan hates that there will be a cutscene and then you walk 5 feet and then there's another cutscene.
There is a scene where Cloud is talking to Aerith. They're on a slide in the playground. And then the cutscene ends. It lets you literally walk 2 feet away before pressing triangle to begin a new cutscene. I don't need that gameplay. You can just make it one long continuous cutscene. Does this all the time. The game feels so disjointed, and it's just holding triangle. That's the game.
I think part of it is that they want to leave you because there's different cutscenes that you'll get depending on your actions. So I think they want to interrupt a cutscene sometimes to leave you a choice so that choice will affect something later. So
you can't do anything in that particular cutscene. You have to walk to the slide.
No, I know. I know, but there's one where Cloud gets up after they've been attacked, and Tifa and Aerith are on the ground, and who you go to first to check on determines a scene later. So
I know who I didn't want to check on was Aerith.
He's not a fan of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl person. He never likes that.
Me neither, Sean. My least favorite trope.
I feel like
the combat in Final Fantasy VII Remake is too frenetic. There's too much going on. And there's no way to stop it.
Wait, I have to ask though. Did you like the combat in 10-2?
Yes, but 10-2 is 18. It's not the same.
It's way more chaotic than the 7 remake.
Okay. The 7 remake combat is like 12 if you didn't have freaking gambits. It's faster 12, but with no gambits. If they had inserted gambits into this freaking game to where I could make my party member, first of all, I don't know what started this thing where it's like, hey, it's a Final Fantasy. You only get to control one of your party members. When did that begin? Because it's stupid. Let me control all of my party members, please, and give them commands. I am the master of this game, not you, Squaresoft. It is my game. Let me play my game, please.
I actually think 12 was my favorite combat.
12 is so good.
I like the combat in that one. But, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I kind of miss the turn-based also. It's simple, but it was fun.
Did you guys play 15?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sad because I think the game itself was fun, but they're missing half the story.
The entire second act is missing. The entire second act just gone.
Did you like the combat? Because you only kind of like slightly control them in like you got them a hint like, oh, you go do that thing.
You just hold square.
I was like constantly darting from one thing to the next. That's all I did. And I will say the combat in that one, 15 is emo. I agree. The combat in that one is how I picture if they ever made a Mistborn video game.
Yes.
That's the lines and stuff.
That is, cool. It was.
Did you try flying in the car when the car becomes an airplane?
That was the worst controls ever.
Thank you.
Controlling
Glory be in the saints be praised.
I was so excited. I was like, oh, I got a flying car now. And then bow, mountain. Oh, bow. Like,
good luck trying to land it also. Everyone's dead.
But someone just said, I came home for this. No, I have to admit, I've never played Final Fantasy, which I know is crazy. My husband loves it. I am just growing up, we were only allowed to have Nintendo. So most of my kid experience is with those games. It wasn't until I was older that I got a PlayStation. The only thing my dad snuck behind my mom was we used to play the OG Tomb Raiders. So I've played all of the PC Tomb Raiders since I was really young. She just didn't know that it was inappropriate for like what she thought. But
I don't know if anybody watches Grey's Anatomy, but I recently found out that Joe from Grey's Anatomy is the voice of the newest Tomb Raider chick, which I was like blown away.
All right.
I'm playing that. I have no idea.
Tomb Raider game right now.
Yeah. It's so dope.
Yeah. It's an excellent thing, and I the OG ones. It's so funny looking back. The pixels, I went back like that first one. It's pretty hilarious.
So, I used to play those all the time, and the graphics being terrible are the reasons I never beat them. Because I'm like, is this a switch on the wall, or is it just some brown spot?
You know,
I can never tell.
My dad and I played together like every night. We went through all of them, but we never ended up beating. I think it was number 3. If anyone remembers, there was a giant like tarantula man at the end, and just do you know what I'm talking about? It was a guy who into a tarantula. But we never ended up finishing it for that reason, because like the controls were so bad in those original ones that at some point you just had to give up.
I feel like those games, they're great because like the old, I don't know. I thought they were so fun. They're kind of classics. And the new ones though, like before we jumped on live, Alan was talking about playing Shadow. And I was kind of disappointed in that one, but
yeah, I actually stopped one of the new ones. I forget, it might have been Shadow. I forget which one.
Or Rod.
Is it the one in Siberia? Because that one's boring and sucks.
Well, it was just I forget which one it was. It was too violent for me because I was the one like you go to a room and you have to machine gun down an entire room of people, and the original Tomb Raider was much less about that. It was more about the exploring, and you'd be kind of killing more like animals or like dinosaurs, I remember, is one of them. And I'm kind of a wimp, but when it gets unmagical and it gets down to just gunning people down in a very high fidelity video game where it is very realistic, it just became too much for me.
It's absolutely leans into the like, what is the most grotesque way Lara Croft can die right now? Like she's getting impaled all the time.
Yes, getting impaled. The first part of that game, I got impaled like 4 times, and it was
in this one. I get eaten by piranhas very frequently.
Eating by piranhas, like classic.
The crazy thing about
in the old game, it was like you couldn't see anything. The pixels was like this big.
The crazy thing about this one is like in the first game, she kind of has like a traumatic experience about her first time killing. And then like 5 minutes later, she mows down like 100 people. And she's like,
she's the greatest mass murderer of our time.
That first one, it broke her. She's like, oh my gosh, I killed somebody. And then it's like, okay, well, here we go. Like,
and you're down now.
Or anybody else. It's
and then the third one,
she's got like mud on her.
Yeah, she's got mud all over her.
Tactical gear.
In the third one too, she's like
Rambo.
Apocalypse, and she's like, whoops, I didn't mean to. When you're
that's the one I ended up playing through, but that first one I didn't. I think is the one
I never played the old Tomb Raiders. There were these games called Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver that had a lot of the similar puzzles from Tomb Raider, but the first Tomb Raider I played was the first new one. But I love Soul Reaver because there was like this Cthulhu, the Elder God, voiced by Tony Jay of Judge Claude Frollo fame, with his super Raziel, you will obey my commands, Raziel. And I'm like, yes, Tony J, get it. Also, Shere Khan from Tailspin. I love Tony J. He's the best.
I've told this story before, but for anyone that doesn't know, my sister and I are 5 years apart, and she's the older one. And when we would play Tomb Raider games, I mean, we were bad at them because we were little kids. But when she would get to a new area, because you know when that like the music comes in the old ones, you're like, something's coming. And she got to a certain area, and every time she would get to these parts, she would hand it to me. And I was like 5. And then I would get to the spot, and then something would jump out at us like wolves or a bear, and then I'd hand it back, and then she'd play. But the initial getting there, she would need me to do it. So
that's so funny, Elle. I have an older sister who's 4 years older, except I was the player. And it would terrify me when those music cues came on. So I'd have to have her in the room as moral support,
like so
to get through it.
She handed it to me for one of them. And then I was, having Lara run forward. And that's when the T-Rex came out. And I got so scared that I like threw the remote and I hit the TV. My cousin, my sister and I, again, we were little and we were really bad at playing. But my cousin came over, and she's the same age as me, just like 6 months apart. And we could not beat this T-Rex because we were bad, because we were little. And my cousin came over and we're like, here, Cheyenne, you try. And she, of course, just like fell into some water while she was running away from the T-Rex. But then that led to an area where there was like a raptor, and she killed the raptor, and then she found a little cutout, and she just shot the T-Rex from there, and she killed it. And we're like, Cheyenne, you killed it. That's awesome. And then she's like, cool. And she hit the analog stick, and then Lara fell and died.
What's crazy is that T-Rex is so ingrained. I know what alcove she's talking about, because that is my preferred way to kill things. To high ground, just shoot no matter how long it takes.
Just be a sniper. Yeah, good times. I've also mentioned these are good video game stories when my sister and I couldn't beat the boss before going to Bevelle in Final Fantasy X. And going back and replaying it, I was like, wow, we sucked because it's easy. But we kept dying. And then when we finally beat it, we were like cheering all happy. And my mom came in. She's like, what are you doing, girls? And she hit the light switch to turn the light on, which that light switch was connected to. Yeah, and it turned our PlayStation off. We were like, Mom! No. We got really upset. Not like actually, but we were really, really sad.
I have the greatest comeback story of a video game. Is the last boss of Tales of Destiny 2 for the original PlayStation, where we had a multi-tap for our PS1, which is the thing you had to plug in if you wanted to play like 4 players. So it's me and 3 of my friends. We're fighting this last boss, and we play on hard. So we've been fighting for like literally 30 minutes. We've been fighting this boss. We've used up all of our items, and everyone is dead except for me. And I'm playing the sword guy, but everyone else is dead, and we're fighting. And it tells you at the beginning of the fight, like at some point when you whittle her down, you have to use this super block ability. It's the final MacGuffin that they give you to like block it. Every time I've tried, I have miserably failed. That's why everyone's dead. So we're out of items. We have nothing left. She's got this much health left, and she uses her super, like, if you've played Tales games, they have mystic arts, which are like the unblockable, like, destroy you. She uses it again, and I'm like, all right, guys, whatever, we're dead. And I press the thing, and it works. And not only because the last boss, not only does it work, it revives everyone else. I have never seen people move so fast, clear 10 feet in such a short amount of time from where they were. Like one guy's in the kitchen getting something out of the fridge, leaning over the couch. Everyone's diving for their controllers, and we beat it. We're like, yes! Oh my God! We're just like high five. It was the most amazing comeback in video game history. I've never seen it. Like, we had no idea it was going to revive them. It was amazing.
And then meanwhile, Sean like rage quits in Bloodborne.
That's a game of rage quitting. I understand.
It's so infuriating, but I love Bloodborne. I want them to make a second one so bad.
You can torture yourself even more.
It's so much fun. There was one boss that took me like 40 tries, and my buddy like would come in because he had already beaten it and was coming to help me. He freaking got killed in the first 20 seconds of the fight. That particular fight was the one I beat it in, and to this day, he's like, yeah, You're welcome for the help beating this guy. It was my crucial distraction of 10 seconds that lets you win. I'm like, shut up. Like, you didn't do anything except increase the boss's health.
So, as much as I'm enjoying this video game chat, I know not everybody who watches ours
I know, right?
channels.
Like, you guys even read, or you just gotta play video games all day?
I strongly disagree with that. Don't be that guy. It's not easy. It's so hard. What
is everybody reading currently, or what's something you've enjoyed that you've read recently?
I'm currently reading Golden Sun. And I recently read Fireborn, which was incredibly good, and I did not expect to like it as much as I did. As I told you before, if I had not finished the Long Price Quartet this year, it would be my favorite read of the year. But Golden Sun is really, really good currently. So
Nice.
I just finished Dresden Files today. So I finished the first book in Dresden Files.
Okay.
It was fine.
It is fine.
It is fine. I understand the appeal for like a certain kind of reader. Not necessarily my thing. So I think I'm going to start Exhalation next. Exhalation. It's like that collection of short stories, sci-fi.
Who's that by? Is that by crap? I forgot.
I can't remember who it's by. It's up on my nightstand, so I'm like trying to remember.
Ed Chang.
Yes. So I'm really excited to start that. I've heard a lot of good stuff about that. Yeah. Ted Chang.
The last book I read was Jade City. That was entertaining. Like I think Alan replied to my tweet, but it just gives me The Wire, the HBO show The Wire, but just like Asian influence.
Re-up.
Yeah, exactly. It was good. I enjoyed it. Everyone was like, "Oh, as soon as you read that, you want to read Jade Ward." I'm like, I do, but like I'm not like angsting for it, you know. I thought it was a really good book, not like all-time best, but really good book.
I have to know your feelings on Hilo.
I like Hilo. I'm a Hilo fan.
Oh no,
I'm a Hilo fan.
No, I just like I didn't like Weebay in The Wire. I don't like in Jade City. I love Stringer Bound.
But he's definitely Weebay, but he a little bit more cerebral. He actually thinks out sometimes.
He certainly has more feelings. He has more feelings than Weebay.
He has more feelings, and he's a people person too. Like everyone really likes him. So, or it's clan members too. So no, I like Jade City. I like Hilo. And right now I'm reading Assassin's Apprentice. I'm like about halfway through there.
Oh, what do you think of that one?
I really like that series.
It's so different. Like the I don't know. Like so, it's first person point of view, right? And so you're hearing from Fitz Boy. I don't know if he has a name yet. How far I got. But it's so just like I don't know. Like I feel like I'm listening to a campfire tale. The way he tells it, the way she tells it, just it goes and flows along. So it's good. It's different. It's way different. It's a lot slower, but I'm really enjoying it. So
the second book in that series, I think, is just phenomenal. So
Assassin's Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to read that second one this month, so hoping to try to read it next week.
It has a great ending.
I didn't love the first one. I thought it was a little. It's not really like my favorite kind of fantasy writing style, and I think what you're talking about with the little boy Fitz is not my favorite lens to see the world from. So I'm hoping as he ages up, I'll like it more.
It definitely still struggles with that, Elle, though, to the end. Like that was definitely something. Like it's not my favorite series of all time, but some of the things the author does, I think, are very good in a literary perspective.
Right. I think her writing is really good. I think her writing is very pretty. It's kind of more formal.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What are you reading, husband? He's reading a couple different things. He reads for those that don't know, Sean reads a mix of things.
Blood in the Water.
Okay.
Which is nonfiction about the Attica prison uprising.
It's depressing.
It's enraging. It won the Pulitzer Prize. Everyone should read it. This next one, not everyone should read. This is Jerusalem by Alan Moore. I am reading this with a buddy, a chapter at a time. And
by the comic book guy?
Yeah.
And it's a long, it's like 600,000 words. It's ridiculously
Wow.
Alan Moore is he's a wizard, right?
Yes, he's definitely a wizard.
He sure hates people's adaptations of his work.
Yeah.
That is true.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is a travesty and a crime.
Are you talking about the movie? Because
The movie.
I'm obliged to agree. It's not
just terrible. It
not
made
good.
Sean Connery quit acting.
And then
hilarious.
I've also been reading some David Foster Wallace, Consider the Lobster. Essays. That's what I'm reading.
Yes,
Good
and
times.
I am reading. Do I hand it to me?
Oh, yeah.
Labyrinth Lost. I only just started it today, and I just finished Flamefall, which is the sequel to Fireborn, and it was so good. I messaged Rosaria Munda, and I told her she gave me a tummy ache because I was so stressed at the end. But it was so good. It's the sequel to Fireborn that Alan was talking about before. It comes out on the 23rd. I highly recommend everybody read it. You got to obviously read Flamefall or Fireborn first, and then you can pick it up. But so good. I can't wait, Alan, for you to read it.
I gotta finish Golden Sun, but then I will read it.
Hurry up.
I also don't like reading the second book before I film my review of the first one, because then my thoughts start to bleed together.
Yeah.
And so I'm desperately hoping to film my Fireborn review today or tomorrow, so I can at least knock that out of the way, because otherwise my head gets very jumbled, and I'll start, it'll color my thoughts of the first one, which I don't want to do.
It does pick up right pretty much where the first one leaves off too.
That's
so
good.
you almost might, like certain events might get jumbled in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a pretty clear, this is where the first one ends scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's everybody in the chat reading?
I see some people are doing First Law. Someone said, I'm trying to look, Dry Books, that I'm making them add the blade itself to their TBR. So I'm glad my review was convincing. I liked it more than I was expecting.
I think that we felt kind of similar. I'm actually always surprised that I think that he writes grimdark really well because he adds so much humor, and he doesn't spend a ton of time being incredibly violent. Like, there are violent things, but they're weirdly kind of funny, almost like Monty Python.
Yeah, he definitely eases the tension, and I think that's the only reason I could read it and enjoy it.
Yeah, because it's not just bleak. Like, Prince of Thorns is just so dark and terrible.
Yeah, my husband liked Prince of Thorns a ton, and after he finished, he was like, don't ever read this. He's like, you will hate it. He's like, I liked it, but you will hate it.
Let's see. Words of Radiance, very nice.
Best one.
Nobody wants to know my opinions of Words of Radiance.
No, we do want to know.
Absolutely not. I like Who's Ever Reading Frankenstein. She was only Evie. Frankenstein surprised me so much. I read that a couple years ago. It was really good. Really good. I highly recommend it.
Super cool.
I just read that. Yes, it's so precious. The animal companion and the Bone Shard daughter is adorable. At first he thinks it's a kitten, the character, and then he thinks it looks kind of like a badger or an otter. He thinks it looks like an otter after that. And it's like, I think it starts growing like little horns and stuff. It sounds so cute.
We got some Charles Dickens, I think, in there. Bleak House.
Oh, look.
I'm looking at R. Lewis reading One Piece. There you go. That's how you do it. One Piece.
Yes, Sean always calls Ash Princess Trash Princess.
Nice.
Can I say an unpopular opinion? Oh, sorry. Finish about Trash Princess.
Oh, I was just going to say he has a lot of different names.
I don't remember them.
For City of Brass.
Okay, you remember.
For City of Brass, he says City of Bras. For Mistborn, he calls it Fogbirth. For, I'm trying to remember the other ones, but anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, a lot of love for Red Rising in the comments, guys. I only read the first two and then DNF'd the series.
Ooh.
Yes.
And I know, it's so unpopular, so...
The third one is my
Not
favorite.
impressed.
The third one's your favorite, Elle?
Yeah, I liked the first one. And then I didn't hate the second one at all. I just didn't like it as much as the first one because it was a little too like pew 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 for me. Like, and then the third one brought it home for me, and then I loved it.
I like Golden Sun. I think I feel like it ended well. It was a good ending.
Interesting. I think I felt the same way about number 2, which is why I was just like, I don't feel like moving on. But then there's so many people who are like, it's my favorite series of all time. And so I just don't know what to do about that.
The third one, I liked the third one a lot. I did not like Iron Gold at all. But
I
I
went
read,
after, like, there's another
I
series.
haven't even started reading those.
so
Did you read the other one too?
I didn't read Dark Age because I hated Iron Gold so much.
Ooh.
And I had a signed, like, it was dedicated to me because I went to Howler Fest when that book came out with Leanna from Leanna's library, and like drove all the way to LA, which I live in Arizona. We both drove together, but and then I didn't like it, and I was like, well, shoot. But I still like the original trilogy. I just pretend that I rarely like continuations. That's why I pretend Final Fantasy X-2 doesn't exist.
So on that, so I agree with you. I sometimes feel like continuations are contrived, but I don't know if anybody reads horror in here. But so I read The Shining, right? And me and Q loved The Shining, and then they made Doctor Sleep, and it took place I think Stephen King wrote it like 20-something years later, and it takes place like 20-something years later, and it was really good. And I was like, oh wow, like I'm surprised that this is a really good sequel that I didn't ask for or want. Even the movie was really good too. Like I with the guy who played not Luke, Obi-Wan, the actor who played Obi-Wan, he's in there, and the movie was good and the book was good. And I was like, wow, this is a gem. I didn't want this or need this, but it was really good. So
He's read some Stephen King.
I'm enjoying Golden Sun. So
yeah, someone asked me why. I really struggled with the first 80 pages of Red Rising. I didn't like the writing at all. I think most people struggle with the beginning. The ending was really great. The second book, I didn't feel very invested in the characters. Something about the way they were written. I don't know.
I'm vlogging the experience, and I keep saying, what is going on? What's happening in this book? What is the plot of this book? Because every chapter, the plot changes. I'm like, what? But I mean, it's chaotic for me in a good way. And I'm super invested because I hate everyone. I want everyone to die. I'm hoping that there's a mass complete murder of all of these horrible, horrible people. And I want Darrow to be the instrument of justice. And if not Darrow, then hopefully Severo. Because the people need to die. And then Severo's still on freaking Pluto. I need everyone to die.
How about I start reading it again?
That's where he is at the beginning. I'm only on page 100. That's where he is at the beginning of the book. You've read the book. You've read book 2.
Wait, Golden Sun is 2?
Correct.
Oh, I thought Golden Sun was 3 for some reason. I couldn't remember that. Oh, okay. I've read that one.
I have a very different experience, I feel like, in that the first 55 pages of Red Rising were what kind of got me to get through the whole book because I liked that beginning so much, which apparently no one else does.
Somewhat.
Sean doesn't like the Stephen King books he's read because of the endings.
Which ones?
Well, The Stand, after trudging through 1,300 pages, has
Trash Can Man,
but an awful ending, a terrible ending.
The Stand is one of 3 books in my life that I have DNF'd. I've only DNF'd 3 books in my life, and The Stand Unabridged was one of them.
Good choice, because the ending leaves a lot to be desired. And then
The Trash Can Man sounds like something on Sesame
what was
Street.
Under the Dome? Okay, I don't know.
That's not a good one. Yeah,
I watched the show, and the first season was really good, and then it was terrible.
Yeah, the ending is he's like, let's explain why there's a dome.
That wasn't a good one.
Explain to me, Steven. I accept your experiment, your thought experiment. Keep it as a thought experiment.
That's one thing. I don't know how everybody feels in this group about this author. That's one thing I like about B.E. Schwab's books is she'll have a bizarre plot, and then she doesn't really feel like she needs to explain. So in this Savage Song and Our Dark Duet, people's bad actions turn into monsters. And it just happened one day that just became a thing. And she doesn't ever bother to be like, it's because God was upset with everybody. Or it's like she doesn't try to explain it. It's just like, yeah, nobody knows. So, but this is what the world looks like.
Schwab is interesting. I think she's so good at ideas, but doesn't always deliver for me. I think she's one of the most creative people, and I agree. I like how she just is like, this is how it is. That's how I felt about the 4 Londons in Darker Shades, or even Addie LaRue. Like, she's good at coming up with those concepts.
Mm-hmm. I haven't read Addie LaRue yet. I've seen all the controversy, though.
Yeah, it's fine. People love it. You might love it.
Yeah, we'll see. Mustang. Wait, from Full Metal? Did I miss?
No, I think that's from Red Rising.
Oh,
I like Mustang a lot too, Maria.
Mustang can stay. She cannot be murdered.
Yeah, she was great.
She's okay.
I never liked her that much. I feel like we constantly.
I didn't like her that much. She was all right.
Everybody was always like, she's brilliant. And I'm like, where? Like, when is she making any really intelligent? Like, I mean, some characters, it's difficult to write a super smart character because it requires that, like, you show them being really intelligent. And I feel like we mostly were told how smart she was. And usually she was smarter than just the other people around her, which wasn't that hard to be.
Like Shalon and her.
I think I liked Mustang because the main character has a wife, doesn't he? Or did have a wife, or was almost going to have a wife in the first one?
Yeah.
I don't know how much we should say.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Find out like the first 30 pages about.
I'll just say I didn't like how the author handled that particular female character, and so I felt like Mustang at least was a little bit of a breath of air in contrast. But you're right, that could all be spoilers, so never mind.
Let's see. If you had, that's a good question. If you had to pick your favorite read of 2021 so far, what would it be?
Ooh, can I go first?
Oh, go ahead. Go.
Sword of Kage.
Oh, good.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh. Oh, my gosh. So the middle 300 pages of that TG, some of the best freaking, like, combat I've ever read in my entire life. It's so good.
Like, it was just like, so when me and Quincy talked about it, have you guys seen Kill Bill, the movies?
Mm-mm.
So there's a slow scene in the end of Kill Bill 1 where, like, the main character fights Lucy Liu's character, and it's very, like, atmospheric and moody. Like, this whole book is just so moody and, like, atmospheric, and then, like, it changes paces real fast. And you're like, whoa, and then it, like, slows down again. And you're like, oh, okay, and it's like it just takes you on an emotional roller coaster. And I was just like, I was so for all of it. Like, I loved it. It made me so happy.
But also probably sad.
And sad. It's sad. It's probably like my first. It's like my second favorite standalone of all time. Like, I really like it so far.
I'm excited to read that one because I heard it's about a mother, and we just get so few mothers in fantasy. So I own it. It's back there. I'm excited to read it.
She's the top bomb of all time. She's
like,
dope.
Even the side character mother is also really fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I hated the last chapter of that book was it just spoiled like the whole experience for me. I was just like, why is this book still going? What is going on?
Yeah, I loved it, bro. I loved it. I
didn't love that very last bit because I feel like the tone, it was such a different tone than the rest. But I still overall really liked it. But now I want to know what your favorite standalone is of all time.
Oh, my favorite standalone is Taigana by my favorite author. Gaga Roque. Yeah, GGK. Gaga Roque Taigana. That's my favorite standalone.
I tried Under Heaven, and I was like, no. That was how I felt about that one.
I still need to read that one, but no, I really like Taigana. It was a good story, beginning, middle, end. So,
Alan, you seemed like you really also wanted to say your favorite thing.
Autumn War / Price of Spring, the last 2 books of the Long Price Quartet. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I talk so much about this series, and a whole bunch of people are going to read it, which is exciting. But it's also it's not for everybody. But these last 2 books, what Daniel Abraham does in the last 2 books of this, elevate. Like, me and 2 other people have gone back and changed our ratings for the first 2 books based on the second 2 books, because the complete tale he is telling is so much greater than its disparate parts. Like, it's about these 2 guys and the people around them over a course of like 48 years. And just watching these people, watching the mistakes they make in book 1 as teenagers that are still affecting them in book 4 as, sextagenarians, it's just so good. It's like, it's just so good. But it's also very low on high octane stuff. And Autumn War, the third book, just its climax was really unlike anything I've seen in any book. It's as if the author said, hey, you know what you're not allowed to do in books? I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I was just like nowhere in a million years did I think that's where it was going, because it's just not how books are written. And it was just so good. It was just so good. And it's just, again, I say this all the time. This is brought to you by crap I've already said. Shakespearean in their tragedy, like just so filled with sorrow, but also hopeful. And it's just so good. They were just so good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I haven't read that book, but the way you said like how the author did something that you didn't expect, like the middle sort of Kagen, I didn't expect that, and that's what hurt me. I was like, I love this book. Like
100%. That's
I was like, oh gosh.
That's why it's so amazing. Those middle pages are just fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta before I say my favorite of the year, I gotta say William. I agree with you. He said that he thinks his favorite standalone ever is Warbreaker, and that is I will go on and on about Warbreaker for days. It's like my favorite book of all time, so I agree. This year, my favorite book so far has been Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I am obsessed with that book, guys. You need to read it. I read it in like under 24 hours. Like I picked it up and just sat down and read the entire thing. I don't know if anyone's read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Has anyone read that?
Mm-mm.
Well, that book is like 1,200 pages, and it is an extremely long book, and it's a slow burn. Like I enjoyed it a lot, but it took me like a month to read, which is a long time. But this book is like the opposite, and it was brilliant. Please, everyone go read it. It was so good, and the less you know about it, the better. Don't read synopsis, don't read reviews, just pick it up and read it. It's really short. It's like 180 pages or something, like 200 pages. It's a super short.
Really? And say it one more time.
Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Yeah, so that was what was surprising to me because Jonathan Strange was so long. But no, it is so good. And my friend over at Read by Andy, I don't know if you guys know her channel. She, Andy's great. She did a live, and usually she finds people who has different opinions. Everyone was like 4.5 stars or up. Like,
I know Brittany from Books with Brittany also just read and loved it.
We did that read along, and nobody disliked it. Like, it is just such a good book.
Which is funny because I've seen people saying it's not for everyone. Like its writing style or something is.
I think eventually it'll be very polarizing. I think it's one of those books that's going to eventually be 1-star or 5-star for everybody. Like, I don't think you can have a neutral opinion about this book. Like, because it is so different. It's so strange. Like, anyway, I can't stop talking about it. I can't really say anything because I don't want to give it away, but it's good.
Do you want to say your favorite of the year so far?
Probably These Truths by Jill Lepore, which is a history of the United States. Not as exciting. Not as exciting.
You should tell them about the 1-star reviews, how stupid they are, though.
Of These Truths?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like how a historian portrays history, might be something of a you problem.
Let's put it this way. So she's mostly stating things that happened. And there are some people that are like, nah, America's always been amazing. How dare you try to tell me that America hasn't always been perfect? And they'll leave really angry 1-star reviews for that book.
I don't understand why you can't both agree that America is a great place and also be like, hey, there are problems. Like, I don't know why it can't be both. I don't know why any criticism or anything. It's just like when people criticize, like, Malazan, or Stormlight Archive, it's like, no, these are perfect masterpieces. There are no flaws.
Alan, I totally agree. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, as Sanderson being one of my favorite authors, people are always like, oh, you just don't know what real art is. And I'm like, I can understand Sanderson's weaknesses while also enjoying his strengths. Like, I never go and I'm like, Sanderson is the best prose writer in the world. Like, I don't need to say that because it's not true.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean I can't love something. So it's always so funny to me that people feel like their favorite authors have to either be perfect or they can't like them. It's just like such a weird thing.
I don't get it either. And so it's funny because I I don't want to say the characters because I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a kind of sort of potential for a love triangle in Stormlight Archive at some point, and then it kind of feels like it gets shut down later. But I have said over and over and over and over again that even though I don't like the two characters who are together, that does not mean that I ship the other character. I'm like, I feel like everybody needs to work on themselves before, right? And this person went to another person's channel and was going off about how I'm like, I'm blinded because I'm such a strong shipper of these other characters that like all, and I was like, what? I commented and I was like, that's not true. I've said many times I'm not. And also, can you please not say things about me that are untrue on other people's channels? And this person went back and edited their comment to say that I'm a really strong shipper of these characters, parentheses, she claims not to be. And I was like, and then I was like, yeah, that's still not. And then I DM'd Alex because I was like, dude, Alex, look at this. And then Alex was like, why are you being such a jerk, basically? And then the guy apologized. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm so happy that when a man jumped into this, then you apologized to me. But I over and over again very nicely was like, can you please? That's not what I've said. Anyway, so that was fun. But like, I don't understand just because it's not quite the same as like criticizing an author or their work, but just the idea that if you don't love this other thing that they love, then it must mean that you're like, actually, even though you're saying over and over again, you're like, or I can just have the opinions I say I have.
I do think your assertion that everyone needs to work on themselves is a great tagline for Stormlight Archive.
That is big facts.
Just in general.
I liked how in my video about, and we talked about this when we did the video with you about what is book 5's title going to be. And somebody said basically like everybody needs therapy.
Yeah, everybody needs therapy. Yeah, something like that.
I don't want to say the characters because they had a character name and it was clever because of the whole palindrome with the titles thing. But yeah, that was, I thought, fun.
I have only read The Final Empire.
Yeah, that which is now you know how she felt earlier when we were all talking about Final Fantasy.
I am hoping to read Well of Ascension at the end of this month.
I'm so excited. The end of this
third book is so good in the Mistborn trilogy. It's just so good.
I actually, when you were talking about Long Price Quartet, I was wondering how you would feel about Mistborn, the trilogy as a whole, after you've read all of them.
I feel like I have been parachuted into into just a hostile jungle where I am desperately trying to escape, where there are like a bunch of like spoiler ninjas like trying to like throw their spoilers and the end of the jungle is the end of this month when I read Well of Ascension, and then the first 2 weeks in April where I read Hero of Ages, and I have to escape. I have to make it to those things before, just because like they're so widely read. And I'm just so terrified because a huge spoiler, in the first one, something huge was spoiled for me. And so now I'm like, I've got like system shock. I'm like,
Yeah, Alan, it's really hard because all of Brandon Sanderson's adult works are related too. So I always warn people, like, you have to be so careful. You're going to be in a video about Mistborn and you're going to be like, great, I can watch this now. And then all of a sudden, Stormlight Archive spoiler happens. Like, it makes it very difficult to engage in Sanderson's platform before you've literally read everything, which is that's hard. That's hard.
I'm trying to avoid everybody.
I mean, that was the thing with Rhythm of War that I felt really bad about for people that have read Stormlight but not read all of Mistborn. And there's a certain thing in Rhythm of War that people were talking about, and they would say it so casually that I'm like, that's kind of a big thing for people that haven't finished Mistborn yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I know which one it is because I've made the mistake. Because it's a big deal. Yeah, if it's the one I think you're talking about, it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
And I have a friend reading Mistborn, and it's really hard. I have to be like, I just can't talk to you about this. I can't remain neutral. So I can't talk to you.
To answer the question from before, I mean, I already said Flamefall. Absolute, my favorite. I mean, Flamefall is up there with like my favorite books of all time. Like Mistborn and Stormlight. It's so good. And I've said before, the author has a degree in political theory from Princeton, and she absolutely puts that into her stories, like the politics, because they're revolution inspired. So good. And then Alan,
Man, I've never even heard of these. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Fireborn is it's YA, but it's incredibly like
It's YA, guys. I don't know. I haven't read YA in like a decade.
it's not. Yeah,
I
know.
tend to not read YA, and it was so freaking good.
Here's the question: does it have a huge romance plot?
It does not have a huge romance plot. It has a romance that is well done and is kind of sidelined to the main plot, which is really good. Especially if you like political stuff.
Alan hates romances and women, and he's still
I do not hate romance.
I hate romance, Alan. Like, I hate romance. In fact, like, I always say my scale of romance is either hatred to the best you can do is I'm neutral about it. Like, there are no romances that are like. I have like 2 in my life.
What about in Warbreaker?
Warbreaker is the only one that I like.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the only ones that I actually actively rooted for.
This one,
which I don't want to spoil.
I feel like the focus of Fireborn, it's like any romantic feelings that come up between characters are almost like just organically a part of being a person.
Okay.
So it seems
That's cool.
realistic to, and there are times where you think it's headed a certain direction, like certain tropes that you're like, oh, this is going to be like a love triangle or love square. And the author, the way that they write those elements, I think is very much no, that's just how these young people would act, but it's not like, it's not.
You're making me nervous mentioning love triangles and love squares. That makes me nervous.
It's much more. It's the Russian Revolution meets Plato's Republic with dragons.
Okay.
It's like that is the stuff that is just really good, and the study of grief, and how you can't really compare trauma, but 2 people that come from completely different traumas in their youth can kind of react in similar ways, and how differently they react because of that trauma, in addition to the Russian Revolution and Plato's Republic with dragons. That stuff is just really, really good. And I don't like younger protagonists because I'm just an old man now.
I don't know, we're all old now. We all have birthdays. We're all old.
I know, right? But it was really, really compelling. And the political stuff, just takes. There aren't any punches pulled. It is very brutal at times, and but it's not dark. It's just really good, and it's very difficult to decide who's on the right side.
It feels like you're reading. It feels like you're reading a novelization of an actual revolution.
Yeah,
it feels like you're taking
convincing me.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. The dialogue of this.
I have to say, as somebody who does like to read a mix of adult and young adults, I know that I feel like my word when I say guys, trust me, it's so good. The politics is so, that's one thing because I do like YA, but having Alan, an old man. An old man who
and
doesn't
women, so it's good to know.
True, and
I know
all
that.
romance. That's true.
So yeah, he really, really liked it.
It was
the book is Fireborn
by Rosario Mundo. It's very, very good. Oh, and it's based on the Aeneid. The book that they're reading, it's called the Aurelian Cycle, which is essentially the Aeneid. There's literally a scene where they're sitting in class, and I tweeted Rosario Mundo being like, this is an AP Latin class, because I teach that class, where they're sitting there trying to translate this in the old language, and they're calling out figures of speech, is there an enjambment here? I'm like, that's freaking AP Latin. I teach that class. Oh, so good.
She said that made her day. She showed her husband and thought it was hilarious. And yes, Flamefall. Earlier, someone asked, and I think I made it clear with my emotions, but somebody asked, "Is Flamefall better?" Yes, it is. I wasn't even sure that would happen, but it's so good. Yes. Okay. And Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and I joke that the reason Alan doesn't like romances is because of how bad a lot of the romances are in adult fantasy. I'm sorry to the Wheel of Time fans, but some of those romances.
Guys, I could go for hours just talking about romance and Wheel of Time and how it's not good. And I got my great serpent ring on. I'm a Wheel of Time fan, so I feel like I can say it. There's just so much.
You have to love it wholeheartedly or you don't love it at all.
I've only read book 1, and it's a lot of Trollocs. Destroy the city, more Trollocs. That's all it is.
Look, Wheel of Time is a labor of love. The best thing, like my favorite thing about Wheel of Time fans is we all like to defend it with our lives while simultaneously complaining about it. Like, because that's just kind of what it is when you're in the fandom.
That's like family, right? You're like, hey, like I'm complaining about my brother, but like you can't talk about him. So
yes. that's literally exactly it. It's like if you don't like Wheel of Time, you're not allowed to complain about it. But if you like it, you're allowed to say as much bad about it as you want.
Sure. Cyprian, that is false. But I do like your Last of Us.
Really quick, totally not related to books, but how old, if everybody's comfortable saying, is everybody as of these last few days? Alan, the old man, do you want to go first?
I am 1 less than 2 score. I am 30. I am 39.
I'm 31.
I turned 32.
Oh, nice 30s. Yes.
I know, I'm the baby. I just turned 28. My mom yesterday called me and then sang all of happy birthday to me when I answered. And she said it in a really silly voice. She's like, happy birthday to you. And she sang the whole thing like that to me. I'm just sitting there like, okay. It was very cute. But she's like, how old are you? And I was like, 28. She's like, no, you're not. You're not 28. When did this happen? Like a typical like cute mom. Sean is also 28, but he'll be turning 29 this year. His birthday's not in March for anybody that's just joining. But Sean is not looking forward to it.
So I was going to ask if you guys, how you feel about getting older, because I feel like it's weird among all my friends. I am desperate to get older. I love, when I turned 30, I threw a party. I'm so excited the older I get. And I think it's because I have a huge baby face. People regularly ask me if I'm in high school still. I don't know how you guys feel about my face that way, but people think my kids are my siblings constantly. They think I'm like a high school pregnancy. Like they always don't think I went to college. And it's been such a frustration throughout my life that every year I gain, I'm like, yes, I'm just like a year closer to looking my age.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like aging, and I'm really anticipating 29 because there's this wonderful rant about turning 29 specifically in the book Mason and Dixon. Nice. And it really resonated with me. And I almost want to like go find it because
you should go find it. It's very silly.
I despise turning older for several reasons. One, I pepper my lectures in class with pop culture references, and the older I get, the older my references are. No longer do my students understand my like there's like 3 that understand my friends' references or whatever. Like everything's I don't watch their stuff, and I can only comment on the stuff I've watched. 2, like I don't feel really old. It's something like I feel like people like I have friends that have children that are like 7 years younger than me, but I feel like I'm younger than them because I don't have kids. My wife and I don't have children yet, and so I also am very, very excitable. And I don't like going to bed at like 9, which most of my friends do. So I think
I'm just an old soul, Alan. Maybe that's what it is because I like going to bed early.
I hate it. Like my wife tries to get me to go to bed early. She's like, "You're tired because you don't sleep enough." I'm like, I will not go to bed before midnight. That is I will not do it.
So the other day, Sean woke up to get ready to go to work, and I was still awake, and that time was 5 a.m. So usually I stay up between 1 and 3, but some nights, just if I'm feeling awake, then I'm like, well, I'm awake, I might as well do stuff, because I just know if I'm not one of those people that I'm like, I'll just lay down and eventually I'll fall asleep, it'll be fine. I will be up for hours, like I can't just fall asleep. So I go to bed very late, but I also similarly, so when I went to college, I majored in music education, which required us to go to do internships in student teaching. And I would get stopped in the hallways and asked like, where's my hall pass and stuff like that. Or even after I graduated college and was doing sectional coaching for the violin sections. Same thing. They would think I was one of the students. They're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I teach the kids in the orchestra. And they're like, well, you need to go to the front, make sure that your car's license plate is registered. And I'm like, oh, and I always was so frustrated because I'm like, I swear I am the age I say. I'm also kind of short, so
I'm super short. It's so hard. I'm 5'2". How short are you?
I'm 5'3", so
yeah, and it makes it so hard because you look younger when you're short. And like when I was in grad school, it was just like such an uphill battle, like even getting jobs because you just look like you don't know anything.
My biggest thing is that people have decided, like society, without my knowledge, I wasn't asked.
He's focusing his camera.
Yeah, sorry. It's decided that when you reach a certain age, there's a certain like code of behavior you have to have. Like people, like you can't act the way that I act when you're 39. It's like, look, what are you doing? Like, it's like I act this way because I have, I just like to bounce around and talk really excitedly and have fun and stuff. But it's just like it's not as like accepted as it was when I was like in my 20s. Now people are like, well, you're 39. Shouldn't you be like, even for my students sometime, which get a boom, they get one of those when they try that crap with me. Get out of here, you 16-year-old twerp.
But aren't you feel good because now that you're older, you realize you don't care what they think. Because I was a volunteer teacher for a bit. It was like a volunteer thing. And first of all, I agree with you. I used to think I was cool until I taught teenagers and I was like, oh, I'm way too old for you. I don't know any of the cool things. Then two, it was funny because they would think like I was dorky or I did weird things. And it was so freeing to be like, I don't care what you think.
Correct.
Like,
if they call me
you're
weird,
like 16. Why do I care what you think of me?
If they call me weird, I say, well, it's a good thing that my self-esteem isn't wrapped up in what a teenager thinks about me.
For real. For real.
I have
Sean has the 29.
Oh, good. I want to hear it.
Book Mason Dixon.
It has a robot duck.
Yes, the mechanical duck.
29 being a prime number. So 29's fell shadow. Oh, inhospitably final year of any pretense to youth. Its dreams now how withered away. Though styled a prime, yet bidst thou adieu to the prime of life. There, in the Stygian mist of futurity, loometh the dread 30, transition unspeakable, prime so soon fallen, thy virtue so easily broken, into a number divisible, penetrable by 6 others.
I expect a full YouTube video on Elle's channel.
Greatest outburst about turning 29.
He needs to memorize this, and then we should have a party, and he should give a toast, and then just in a very dramatic way give this speech.
Like that just came to me.
Yeah, just like pondering aging. We haven't gotten what your thoughts are on getting older, though.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just getting older, I gotta.
He's like, you guys are crazy. Why are you guys talking as much about this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've changed much of what I'm doing. Like, I feel like, so I have a 2-year-old, and so she keeps me like on my toes. So it's not like, I do want to sleep in a little bit more, and my wife's like, oh, I'm going to bed at 9:30. I'm like, okay, well, I'm playing the game, so and she's like, well, should you be playing? I'm like, I probably shouldn't, but literally I am.
I'm a grown up. I can do what I want.
Exactly.
I also have a 2-year-old, and it does put a damper on your mornings.
It does. So it's like, and that's the thing I know. I'm like, okay, well, I know I need to go to bed in a couple hours because I have to get up and get her together. But I really want to play the game because I've been doing stuff as baby stuff and work stuff earlier, and it's just compartmentalizing my time. It's just been the thing. But I mean, I still feel as spry as I thought I was in my 20s, even though it takes me a lot longer to recover than I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. So working out or hit my leg on something, like, ow, that still hurts 5 days later. I'm like, why is that? Like, oh, it's because you're older. So.
And it's like you wake up when I turned 30, all of a sudden my back started hurting. Yeah. It was like this weird, like you turn 30 and it's like now your back hurts. Yeah. So that's what you guys have to report.
Random things hurt and they just linger a little bit longer than you're normally used to. You're like, why is it still hurting? And you're like, okay, so.
I was gonna say that I think we haven't hit that point where all of a sudden, because I still feel like spry. Yeah. My dad, he was always much, much older to have a daughter my age, and having an older father, I think weirdly always made me feel like a little girl, because he was older than some of I'm not making any sense. When I was a kid, other kids in my class would have grandparents that were younger than my dad, right? He was a lot older, and he was like so wholesome and old fashioned, and just like always treated me in a way that made me feel just like wholesome and nice. And I don't know. So I think that I've always felt like a kid. And then getting older, I still feel like a kid. Just apparently I'm 28 now, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel very youthful. Plus, I was very, very quiet growing up, and I'm much happier now than I was when I was younger. So I think being happier and bubblier makes me feel younger. Like I wasn't moody because of like it was cool to be moody. I was just sad a lot of times. And so I think that I felt like grumpy the way, grumpy old people, like that's how I felt. I don't know. So I feel like I feel more youthful now, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But this question came up about what are your hobbies other than reading? We did start this off by talking about video games for a long time.
For like 20 minutes.
Aside from video games, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons player. You can see all our Dungeons and Dragons stuff in the back. My husband and I do that together. It's like one of our huge hobbies that we really love. I'm always saying get into Dungeons and Dragons is a lot more fun than you think.
I was a DM for 20 some odd years. I have not played in like 3 years, I think was our last game, just because everyone, like people moved and then everyone got busy, because the freaking older you get and the bigger your family, the harder it is to carve out that time.
Yeah, we've had one group. We are in a couple groups, but we've had one group going for 4.5 years, maybe 5 now. And awesome. When the pandemic started, we just moved to online, and then we all ended up moving away during the pandemic. But it's been working well online. It's really fun. It like has brought us together a lot as friends, and it's a really fun thing to do with my husband. Like it's just like a random fun thing to do together. So that's like my big hobby other than reading, I feel like. And booktube. Booktube takes up so much time. Can you guys all agree with that?
Yes. And that's 5th edition back there, right? Those books?
Yeah, we're all 5e. So we aren't as cool. We didn't play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Second edition was where it was at.
I know. Everyone hated 4e is what we know.
Because battles took 5 hours.
That's what everyone says. 5e did a good job of fixing that. It is a random hobby where you actually don't need like anything to get started. But that hasn't stopped us from buying so much garbage for it. Like
5e is like a less deadly, and it has the best parts of 2e, which is why I like it so much. It's much closer to 2nd edition than 4th edition, surely, but not quite as deadly. Like there's no save versus death, instant death. You have like multiple saving throws.
And I've done a lot of research on the last editions, and that's kind of what I've heard, that they're probably sticking with 5e for a while because it's kind of blended a lot of the good stuff. But we own something like 250 dice. So if you guys live near us, need some dice, we can help you out. We've always got plenty to spare.
That's all.
That's dope.
Who's going next?
Alan, you want to go? You want me to go?
I play board games. I used to play D&D a lot. I don't anymore, unfortunately. I play a lot of board games. I like co-op board games just because no feelings get hurt. My favorite board.
Alan, I'm really mean at board games, so co-op keeps our family together. You know?
My favorite is Arkham Horror because I have the original and then all of the expansions. So the board is really 8 feet long. Wow. And you can also play it up to 8 players. The problem is that I used to have a slightly larger friend group than I have now, and most games are for 4 players. And it sucks when you have more. We got like 6 players. There aren't as many 6-player games, and so it was always our go-to because you could play up to 8 with that. And I also do some stage acting. I'm going to play coming up here in May. It's a treasure island, so I'm a pirate, which is awesome. But we have a theater company out here. What?
I said, are you a pirate and a good man?
Yes. Yes.
At least you're part of Pirates of the Caribbean. That whole so, yeah. Sorry. Continue.
I mean, yes. Will Turner is the worst, but pirates are cool. So I like acting, but I haven't done it in like 2 years. And it was always before, like, I haven't done it since I've done BookTube. So with what you were saying and how much time BookTube takes, coupled with all the freaking teaching crap that I have to do all the freaking time, like and the theater's an hour away. It was a dumb decision. My wife tried very nicely to be like, are you sure this is something you want to do? Because my wife would never be like, you can't do that. She really, really tried to make me realize how terrible it's going to be. And I was like, no, this is going to be fun. And it's not going to be fun. It's going to be horrible. But the thing is, it's not even until a month. Like, it's even a month before rehearsal start. But the problem is I already committed to doing it. And I don't like not doing things I said I was going to do. So even though I just see it looming, like hanging over my head like a sword of Damocles, like it's gonna fall down, it's gonna kill me, and I don't want to do it. Like I don't want to do it anymore. What was I thinking? My wife is so wise. I should have listened.
Sorry,
now
I'm really distracted by this thing. Anyone ever play Super Risk, a game of Risk, but all battles are decided with a match of Stratego? Okay, that sounds like something I would have done.
It would take forever.
That would take a year. I mean, like 6 months. Like, has anyone actually done that? Because
Risk is banned in our household because my husband and I played it like 8 years ago and it ended extremely poorly. And so we decided that we are no longer allowed to play Risk because it feels like we're attacking each other.
Well, Risk,
very wise.
But like each battle, a game of Stratego?
Terrible. Stratego takes forever.
Yeah, that's intense. I'm blown away by that.
I have joked about this before, but I feel like our biggest arguments are over Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
I think that when we were in Ireland, I got so mad because he was getting grumpy at losing that I took his deck and I threw it.
Oh gosh.
I was like, fine, we just won't play anymore. It was funny though. I feel bad. I'm sorry. I had to run to the restroom, so I missed a little bit. But I like to draw, and I like to play my violin, and I like just hanging out with my dog. A hobby. I feel like
that's a hobby.
Sure is.
I do like board games and everything. Although I've never played Dungeons and Dragons because I have a really obsessive personality. And I just know that I would get too into it, and then I would have no time to do anything else.
You'll be so into it. And you know what? I really someday want to host, like on my channel, a booktube D&D. So maybe I can convince you, Elle, to get into it, and we can do a one-shot. Just a one-shot,
It's like sustained improv with dice to settle.
That sounds
Not though, because I'm extremely shy. I'm a super shy person, and I know, Alan. I don't think anyone thinks you're shy. It's okay. Like, you can be shy. I think the first time you play, I'll be interested because Alan, you end up being a character that's mostly yourself, because it feels the most comfortable, and then. We're lucky enough to play with a group that really prioritizes it. So we've played every other week for 4.5 years. We've only missed like 2 sessions. And as we've kept going, like my characters get more and more fun, and it's helped me kind of go out of my comfort zone and play act as other people. It's just like, it's a very fun game that builds friendships.
Do any of you watch Modern Family by chance?
Mm-hmm.
I love Modern Family.
So
there's
there's that episode where Cam tricks Mitch into going into one of those, the audience participates improv, and Mitch is really mad, and that is me. Like, I don't like.
No,
I'm like,
no, that would be my worst nightmare.
Okay.
But this is with friends, like, right? It's only like 4 other. It's like they're friends, so it's not embarrassing, and you only have to participate as much as you want.
When I ran my games, Elle, like, since I'm all the NPCs, no one sounds as stupid as I do. It's like in my classroom, no one sounds as dumb as I do, because that's where all the big accents, come from. The guy's like, "Ark, would you like to buy from me shop? What would you like? We got the healing potions," and crap like that. And then no one sounds dumber than that. Like, nobody.
Alan, you would be the best DM. I was a DM, but I could not commit to the voices. Like, my players just had to accept that was not my strong suit, but I would love to hear your voices as DM.
Well, I didn't like saying like, "and so says."
No, totally.
I had to have it where they could tell who was talking based on like what voice I was doing, because I got tired of saying, and then the shopkeeper says, so it's so much fun. So fun.
Every time people tell me I should play D&D and they give me examples of why I should play, not in this example, like not right now, But every other time before, every time people are like, the craziest thing happened. And then they'll tell me what ridiculous thing they did. I'm like, yeah, that sounds that sounds dumb. Like I don't.
Here's the thing, Al. So back before pandemic times, my husband and I hosted a bunch of one-shots out of our house with a bunch of friends who were scared to try D&D. So we were like, come over to our house and do it just for a night and see how it is. And every single person, we did it with like 15 people, every single person over several nights said they wanted to play. Every single person said they would do it again. And we had a lot of different personalities. So I think people just have a weird perception of it. Is anyone a Community fan? Community?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Community's my favorite show of all time. I will say the Community Dungeons and Dragons episode is kind of a good example of how it feels to play Dungeons and Dragons.
It's pretty good. It's pretty
accurate.
It's a great
anyway.
Sorry, I was eating a cookie. It's my birthday, so somebody asked our favorite shows. I'm trying to find it.
Hold on, we didn't find TG's hobbies.
We didn't say T. Yeah, what are your?
Sorry.
All good. So I just started doing Orange Theory workout, Orange Theory Fitness. So that's been good. I was beforehand. I enjoyed working out, but pandemic hit, closed a bunch of the gyms. So I had to figure out something else to go do. Even when gyms open back up, I wasn't trying to go to the gym, which is not good. Need to do something, at least my perspective. I need to do something active. So I started doing Orange Theory. So that's been really good. I'm a big sports fan. So I love, probably goes in order of like college basketball, pro football, then college football, college basketball, something like that order, all those. So I watch a lot of those. I also like boxing, MMA.
Who's your pro football team?
Favorite pro football team?
Yeah.
On Carolina Panthers, man. Panthers,
right on.
North Carolina. So rep the Panthers. They haven't been very good ever since 2015, but they'll bounce back one day.
Okay, I'm a Cowboys fan, and they haven't been good since I was born. So
not since the Eggman days. They haven't been good.
I am a Packers fan, and we were so close. But guess what? The NFL decided that, hey, we're gonna make the Patriots not good, except we're gonna move them to the NFC and call them the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Retire, Tom Brady. Retire.
I can't believe
playing football. Everyone hates you.
I can't believe you guys let him go to Lambeau and beat you guys. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
GG, I'm so angry. I'm so angry.
But it was really a lot of defense fault. But anyway, so yeah. So I love watching sports. And again, we all gushed about video games, and I didn't think about something, but I think I'm also obsessive a little bit like you, Elle, because I thought about maybe I should play an MMO, like Final Fantasy 14, or what's the one with the ogres? The something.
Wow.
Wow. Oh yeah, wow. But I know the reason I don't is because I would end up with hundreds of thousands of hours into the game and neglect my family. I wouldn't read a book.
Yeah, TG, you just described exactly why I've never played games that are online with other people.
Exactly.
I'm the same way.
I would go too deep down the rabbit hole, way deeper, and then come up and look like conspiracy theorists.
Yes,
so,
when
you described why it took me 8 years to get a degree, because I was too busy playing freaking WoW instead of doing my bleeding homework. Don't do that, kids. Don't do it. If you're obsessed, don't play MMOs.
Guys, the embarrassing thing is I learned this about myself because I used to play Neopets as a kid. Please tell me anyone else did Neopets.
I played Neopets.
And I had to stop because I got weirdly obsessive about it and literally never played an online game after that, because if it's competitive online, I can't control myself over it.
Yeah.
I was I agree. I don't think I could ever get into them, because even just playing Witcher, seeing all the question marks on the map and being like, well, I'm really close to this one, so I'll go
so I have to go see what it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, oh well, okay, that one, there's a monster over there and it's treasure, and I can't defeat that monster. I'm too weak, but I'll come back. So I'll go and then he would wake up for work, and then he'd be like, what? You're still playing Witcher? And I also too, not related to playing online, but when I start drawing, I end up doing it for hours to the point where my eyes start to get out of focus. And when I look up and I'm like, oh, I can't. And I used to do a lot of sketching, and he would come home from wherever, and like I would have smudges like on my face and stuff, and he was like, when was the last time you looked in a mirror? Because you get the charcoal like on your arm, and then if I do this or if I like scratch or something, then it's just all over my face. Like it looks like I'm a football player with the mark. Yeah, too obsessive, I think. But now getting into this question about TV shows, I'll answer first and just say my absolute favorite is What We Do in the Shadows. It is hilarious. I've mentioned it before. It's a mockumentary following vampires who need familiars, which are just humans, to help them with their everyday tasks because they are not used to modern technology. It's my favorite. It's so stupid and I love it. But then I really like Parks and Rec. I like Modern Family. I think mockumentaries are just my favorite. I always like that style.
But you don't like The Office, which is just
so I don't hate The Office. I love The Office. I don't like I get secondhand embarrassment. So
me too.
Really uncomfortable scenes. It like
Scott's Tots.
Scott's Tots. I muted that entire episode. Like I literally couldn't.
The hardest episode to watch by far. Oh my god!
What you gonna do? What you gonna do to make your dreams come true?
No.
I love that episode.
Laptop batteries. Like I can't think of something worse that he could have given them. Like laptop batteries. Oh.
I like The Office quite a bit, so favorite, that's up there. I think BoJack Horseman might secretly be my favorite.
We also really, I mean, if we can say animes, then Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Promised Neverland was amazing.
Season 2 is not great.
Oh no. As far as rewatching though, I rewatch What We Do in the Shadows as soon as I finished it, basically. I watched it. I mean, there's only 2 seasons out so far and they're working on season 3. But it's so funny.
Wait, I thought there were 3 seasons. And they're going 4.
I think I'll double check.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Anyway, please go watch it and then everybody tell me how great they think it is.
My friend has been dying for me to watch that show, so maybe I'll get into it now that I know you love it so much too.
I mean, the special effects are pretty bad, but it's funny. Like it's
I feel like they're not trying to be.
Yeah, they're clearly not trying to make it very good at all. It's great. What about you, Alan?
My favorite TV shows are One Piece. So if we're gonna do anime, One Piece. But past One Piece, the original Law and Order, like with Jack McCoy, not SVU, like the original Law and Order. I mean, I like SVU, but I've always liked, like, I grew up watching the original Law and Order. I wanted to be Jack McCoy for forever. So SVU is fine, but SVU focuses more on the police, and I like the court more. And so that's why I like the original Law and Order. I also like Psych. Because I think Sean and Gus have the best chemistry of any like bromance on TV. Come on, son. I'm not moving a dead body, Sean. And then The Office. I love The Office. And I just recently discovered a show on the BBC called Line of Duty, which is about it's like the British internal affairs. So it's like it's called anti-corruption. It's an anti-corruption cop unit investigating bent coppers. And it is so freaking good. If you've watched The Bodyguard on Netflix, it's by that guy. That same guy is the showrunner for that. And it's just, I've never seen a show be able to make interrogation scenes so tense. The finale of one of the seasons it's an hour and a half long with 2 interrogation scenes. And I felt like my heart was going to explode because I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh. And all they're doing is asking questions, just interrogating, like not being like, no one's raising their voice, just asking questions, trying to like trap them in a lie. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And season 6 is coming out next month. And I'm so excited to watch it. But my parents watch it. Like my parents are always trying to get, you should watch this show. It's very funny. And then finally I watched one that my parents aren't old, but like I finally watched one that they wanted me to, and it was just a winner. So good. Those are my 4 or 5.
So I had to write this down because I was thinking of stuff while you were saying them. So some of my favorite just TV shows are Luther.
Yes,
it's really good. Breaking Bad. I mean, Breaking Bad is just
how did you leave that one out?
So good. Amazing. And then I don't know if anybody has ever watched this. I feel like this is one of the shows that'll be a cult classic later. But it was Hannibal. It came on NBC. With the guy who is what's his name? He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in that Rogue. He was the father in Rogue One. I don't know if you guys watch Star Wars. And he was in something else too. But Hannibal and NBC, those were good. So Luther, Breaking Bad, Hannibal, anime, Yu Yu Hakusho, Naruto.
Yu Yu Hakusho. Oh my
Mads
gosh.
Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Mads Mikkelsen.
So good. You in Naruto, Hunter x Hunter. I love some good anime. And then I think I might have texted L or Instagram messaged L this. Someone said Game of Thrones, and I like Game of Thrones and I like Dexter, but I have a hard time when things don't end well.
Oh, the Dexter finale.
And like me remembering it in a good light, because Dexter, like seasons 1 through like 4 were amazing.
Yes!
Some of the best he did.
Trinity.
The Trinity Killer was amazing. And then like the last season, it ended so bad, like it made me not want, like I have a hard time watching something when I know the end's gonna be bad, like watching it over again, which is why I never watch Game of Thrones again, even though I own all the seasons. It's like I know the last season was so bad, I can't watch them all again.
That's how I feel kind of sort of about House of Cards. That show was so good. Then Kevin Spacey.
And Kevin Spacey came out.
Weird.
It's so weird. And I just can't go back and watch it again. Like,
and that sucks because I really liked Kevin Spacey as an actor prior to all of that.
He's a great actor. And so I also liked Game of Thrones and Dexter were some of my two favorites, but like I have a bad taste on those shows because of how they ended, and like I won't list them as some of my favorite shows.
But I have to pretend like The Office ends at season 7 when Michael leaves.
When Michael left, right?
I will not watch anything beyond it. And
season 9 is okay. Like they kind of got a magic back in season 9, but season 8 is terrible.
It's terrible.
I think the last season of Parks and Rec is pretty not great as well.
They had like that extra season.
It should have ended like one season before.
Yeah.
The season after Chris and Ann leave. Like,
yeah, it's like.
Well, there's that season where they weirdly, it's like the future, not like literally, it's been years, and then now like her and Ron are enemies, and you're like,
oh
yeah, that was weird
about that.
But like comedies, like they have themes that go through the seasons, but they kind of stand alone their own episodes.
Yes.
But those dramas, like things build up over time, and then you just don't get the payoff, and you're like, damn it, like why did you end like this?
Yes.
But I feel you. I don't watch past season 7 of The Office either. I'm just like, oh, this is where it ended. Okay, good.
Have you ever any of you ever watched the original British Office with
Yeah, I've seen it.
David Brent is reprehensible.
It's more painful. It's so much more painful than
it's more painful, but one thing about British TV shows is they end when they should end in general.
They do. Much like Luther. Yeah.
Except for Doctor Who.
There's nothing redeemable about David Brent. He's he's despicable. He's
I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine too.
It's so funny though.
I'm a Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan. My favorite show of all time is Community. I always say that Community is the one TV show that never, ever, ever gets old for me. Like I can just watch it over and over again. I do skip the season where Dan Harmon is not a part of it because I pretend it is obviously it's season 4. Yeah. It is the gas leak year. If you're a Community fan, you know, and we just don't pretend. It's kind of hard though. Dan Harmon is kind of a problematic guy, which is just hard. But I pretend. I don't
like what he did with Chang. Like I like early Chang. Like I quote
early Chang was amazing
all the time.
And also when shows start bleeding characters, it's really tough. So really, the first 3 seasons of Community are Community at its best.
Yeah.
And that's what I usually rewatch. I do like to watch Meow Meow Beans, which is an episode in season 5, which I also think is very good. But Community is my favorite. I'm also a fan of, we watched Modern Family, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Okay. I don't watch a ton of TV. I will say Breaking Bad, I thought was such an excellent TV show, but it made me feel so bad inside that I told my husband I would never watch it again, like anything like it. But it was like excellent. It's how I felt about the first Law trilogy. Like, wow, this is excellent. And I also don't like it.
Yeah.
But recently, the 2 shows that I liked a lot were Schitt's Creek. If you guys have watched that.
I watched that. That's funny.
I thought that show was so funny.
Yeah,
and
that one.
We watched Mythic Quest. Has anyone seen Mythic Quest?
No.
It is an Apple TV original, which we got free Apple TV with our phone. So we would have never watched any of this. But it's like The Office for a video game company. and we highly enjoyed it. So if anyone needs a funny show, I recommend Mythic Quest. That was probably the most recent show I enjoyed.
I think the first paintball episode of Community is one of the best, like the best
It's amazing.
Just of
episodes
TV.
of TV ever.
Of
Like,
all time. That
so
one,
well done.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, like those
Good.
two are just so good. And the one where they make the blanket fort and they do it like the Ken Burns Civil War documentary, which
So
Yes.
good.
I grew up
Blankets
watching
v.
Ken
Pillows,
Burns.
right? Isn't it Blankets v. Pillows? Isn't
Pillows
it
and
Yes,
Blankets
Blankets
v.
v. Pillows. My parents were obsessed with the Ken Burns Civil War documentary, so I watched it all the time growing up. So, like, just that Ken Burns. Anyway, that whole show is genius.
So I got distracted by Jashana not liking Breaking Bad, which horrifying. Need to
Someone's talking about It's a Banana. How much can it cost? How did I not mention Arrested Development? The first 3 seasons of Arrested Development, for sure.
That's another one I have to pretend nothing else happened
Nothing.
after the first 3 seasons. But that's a pretty great show.
Yeah, that
We
show's
have
amazing.
not watched this one.
I have also not seen it.
My mom was telling me she thinks it's good, but also I was going to add with Modern Family. So my grandparents on my mom's side are from Cuba, which obviously isn't the same as Colombia, which is where, Sofia Vergara's character is from. But there's so many things that she does and says and her facial expressions that are so similar to the Cuban side of my family that, like, sometimes I'm not even necessarily laughing at the joke. Like, I'm laughing because I'm like, that's my family in some ways. I don't know. I love it.
Oh,
I love that.
Now I have no presents again. I love Gloria.
I saw somebody say Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's also an excellent show.
I have a good friend who has been campaigning for years for me to watch that show, but I struggle with cartoons. I really struggle watching cartoons, but
It's the
everyone's
most anime a cartoon can ever get, if that's a plus or a negative for anybody. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
very good.
I have
I feel
tried
like maybe I could
twice.
watch it with my kid, and that would make it easier for me.
Yeah.
You know,
I also loved Netflix's Daredevil a lot. I didn't love the second season because it got a little out there. And I actually like how the gritty realism aspects in seasons 1 and 3. So those seasons are pretty close to perfect, I think. Those are fantastic.
Does anybody watch Disney Plus WandaVision? Or you watched it?
I
haven't
did. I have some very hot opinions about WandaVision.
Yeah,
Okay.
you didn't think it was very sad, is your thing, right?
No, everyone cried at the last episode. I loved all of WandaVision except the last episode. So,
It was interesting ending. So we can
how
just say
did you
that.
like it? Did you cry? Were you emotional?
I didn't cry. I overall liked it. The ending, it felt forced in certain areas, but overall I was like, okay, this is what you want to do. It's overall a good show. So
I think for me, I'm it's been over a decade since the first Marvel Revolution started, and I'm just a little bit over the formula that Marvel's doing right now. And so I thought WandaVision was like a breath of fresh air, and I felt that the ending just kind of brought us back.
back to the same. It did. You're right. Correct.
That
you
kind
know-
of disappointed me.
You know what's a breath of fresh air? Downton Abbey.
No thanks. Never
What do you
seen
mean, no thanks? Why do you hate British people?
I'm good.
Oh,
on that
I love
one.
British people. The BBC Pride and Prejudice, that's where I'm at. But I just
Not
Sean, do you like the
Downton Abbey?
BBC Pride and Prejudice?
I don't dislike it, but
Oh,
it's
no.
more I was in high school and I had the flu and I was at home and my mom was like, you know what you could do with your day? Watch the 5-hour BBC Pride and Prejudice. And I was like, please don't. I don't know if I'm gonna do that. But I couldn't stop her. So
Because of your fever.
I thought it was good. It was a good use. 5 hours later, it was fine. Yeah.
So I haven't seen it, but I'm nervous.
Oh, guys, the first Wonder
Haven't
Woman
seen
was
it.
so good, and then the second one was just such a letdown.
I've seen neither.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the last one.
The
Yeah,
first
that's
one
too
was I loved the first one. I'm kind of obsessed with Gal Gadot though, so
I love that scene where she goes between the trenches.
yes.
The best scene. I wanted the whole movie to basically be that. It was such a that scene was great.
I have so many opinions about why Wonder Woman succeeded as kind of like the girl power Marvel, like not Marvel, DC movie versus Marvel's. Why am I not? I'm blanking on her name.
Captain Marvel.
Captain
Captain
Marvel.
Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Thank you. Yes, Captain Marvel. I have so many. I mean, we don't have time for that today, but I think it just succeeded a lot.
Is anyone watching the Snyder Cut right now?
No, I have not. I don't really have any interest in watching the Snyder Cut. I've seen it's been a big thing, but don't really care about the Snyder Cut. So,
Speaking of long movies, a 4-hour Justice League movie.
Speaking of things that have Henry Cavill, what do you guys think of Witcher, the show?
Boring.
What? You didn't like it?
I mean, not compared to the video game is the problem.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like it was fine. Like it was fine, but the problem is I love Witcher 3 and Witcher 2 so much that it just didn't feel as good as the Witcher.
That's a high bar though, Alan, because like Witcher 3 might be one of my top 3 favorite video games ever.
One of the best games of all time.
It's one of the best games of all time. And you're talking about a show that like it's Netflix's first intro, and they're trying to be true to the books and do the formula that kind of threw people off. And I mean, I think it was quality done well. I thought it was good overall.
Geralt isn't funny in the show the way he is.
Not as funny.
He's funny in the books and he's funny in the game for sure.
So no one wants to hear my Witcher opinion.
The bar is too high.
I want to hear
really
your opinion.
But I think that's the problem. Is I think I expected more from it
Yeah.
than I got, and I also I don't need to see as many naked people as they want to show me in that movie. Like, I don't know why there's got to be naked people everywhere in everything. Like there doesn't need to be this many naked people. Like, there's nothing.
I've said about this before that what frustrated me. Oh, hello, Chillin.
It's a
Sorry,
child.
they wanted to say hi.
Hello.
I just put my 2-year-old in bed, so I understand.
These are my children.
They're so cute. What I've always said about it is in the books, like they said they were going to try to stay really true to the books to the point where they wouldn't even have Henry Cavill have a beard, right? Because they're like, no, he doesn't have a beard in the books. But then
My Geralt has a beard.
they totally changed the way that Geralt and Yennefer meet because they're supposed to meet after that party in that one episode. And instead he meets her during the party so that we can see all of those people naked. And I'm just like, okay, you can't consider giving him a beard, but you can change something from the books so that we can see a bunch of random extras. Like I'm trying to not phrase it a certain way because there were just children around. But
They're gone.
they're like all grinding up on each other. And like, I'm just like, okay,
But Toss a Coin to Your Witcher is fantastic.
It is fantastic.
I have a cover of it on my channel.
It's so good. If you haven't watched Elle's violin cover of Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, it's so good.
It is.
Now
Guys, I made a 30-minute video about the first Witcher book.
That was also
That currently has a 70% dislike to 30% like ratio. If that tells you how popular my opinion
Witcher
is.
fans are dumb, sadly, most of them.
No, it's funny. I did another video about the second book that was more popular. I just think The Witcher's incredibly sexist as a book and felt that it objectified women extremely. And so I am super not a fan of the books. I tried to watch the first episode of the show and there were a lot of naked people like you guys are talking about. And I just think it's so unnecessary. So
It's not.
What I love though is the people. Okay, so when Sean and I did our, we basically did like a fan and then a newbie almost because he hadn't read the books. And so we reviewed the show every couple episodes together. And almost always the people that are like, oh, it's just the human body. Americans are so bland. I'm like, okay, hold on though. We need to backtrack here. There's a difference between something like this is obviously a very drastically different thing, but like a mother nursing her child and then someone sexualizing that, you're like, it's just the human body, stop being a perv. But when you find ways to have nudity in your show, you're doing it because sex sells. So let's not act like this isn't sexual. They're literally like basically having sex.
A lot of those people would change their tune if there's a bunch of wang everywhere.
Yes.
Like it's not that.
Exactly.
And I think the big thing that I talked about a lot in my video is there is a gaze. There is a very difference between mature scenes and mature scenes that are sexist. Like there's a difference. And I think actually First Law does such a good job. There's so much mature scene. There's a lot of nudity in that book and none of it is objectifying. There is a way to show human bodies that are not objectified, and then there's a way to objectify them. And it's very clear what the difference is usually when you're watching something.
I think the games do a much better job with just having having sexuality in the world without having it be like super sexist. Like I think the game does
I think The Witcher's only so popular because of The Witcher 3. Like I think it was such a successful video game that it really, I think, helped, prop it up.
Those games are amazing. Did you play the second one, TG? Witcher 2 also?
I didn't finish the second one. I started but never finished it. But then the hype of the third one brought me back, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!"
It's oh my gosh, so good. One of the best games ever. So good.
I do think that in the video game, though, that I don't know. I still feel like there's some things in there that don't have to be. There's some things in there that I'm like, I think they know a lot of the fans are men. But that's the case with so many video games. I mean, even Final Fantasy X, as we've discussed, like Lulu, if you finish a battle with her, she's got a gravity-defying dress, and then she ships
it's made out of belts. It's made out of belts.
Yes. And then Tifa, I'm like, I didn't realize that Nilfgaard's Witcher, Midgard. Is it? What's wrong with me? I didn't realize that they got implants there. I thought they were from the slums, but I guess she saved up enough for those. But
Just from the slums.
She could have just been born buxom.
Not that much. So come on.
She could choose looser clothing for sure. So she's only got the one shirt.
But she's wearing a sports bra underneath. Sports bras do not make them that big. They push them down so they don't move. Anyway, what were you going to say?
So just this is kind of on the subject. So Alan was saying, can you imagine those same people? There's a bunch of...
Yeah.
So someone points out I don't know if you guys know this, but Batman Damned was a comic book that initially came out with Bruce Wayne is walking around naked, and you get some of that. And there was an outcry of why is this in here? Where they reprinted it without that in there. So clearly, yes, there is a
double standard
because it could be in comic books for women. I mean, it's there for sure. But yeah, the Bruce Wayne. No, we don't want to see that.
TG, what'd you think of the Witcher show?
I thought it was okay. It wasn't the best show Netflix has ever done.
Yeah.
But you could just tell that they put a lot of money into it because they want this to be their Lord of the Rings. They want this to be their, that's their next show that they want to do. That's going to have high quality into it, and they want to pull those fans from the games and the books. So I mean, and they try to stay true to the first book. So I thought it was done pretty good. I like Henry Cavill. I do think he was just a little bit stiff, like Elle said. He didn't have as much fun. Yaskier or Dan Dilling, he was hilarious the whole time. So I thought it was a good show.
I will be curious to see how they do season 2. I think the problem is that there's never going to be an adaptation on a TV show that is going to follow those first 2 books well. I mean, the only reason that I was following what was happening is because I knew from the books the order is all over the place, and that was the number one thing for friends of ours that hadn't read the books. They were like, what the heck? The timeline's so confusing. Everybody was talking about how that timeline was really bizarre.
I think in season 2 they said they're just going to go straight ABC, no jumping timelines. So
yeah, I mean, there would be moments like that scene in the crypt I think it was so cool. And so there would be moments in the show that I thought were awesome. And then there'd be other moments that I just felt like the special effects or CGI, whatever it was, sometimes it's different, but some of them looked really bad. I don't know. But I mean, I try to be forgiving because I'm like, it's the first season. But
Sam, it's your mom. Hush.
Oh, is it the doggy?
Yeah, Christina just got home and the dog started barking.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, he's good.
The books are doing their own. It's supposed to be the books because the game's events are a what if for after. Yeah, so it's supposed to be from the books, but it's hard because the first 2 books are collections of short stories and they're not always chronological. So it was always going to be a tough.
Yeah, that's interesting because the first 2 books, sometimes it is hard even as a reader to understand the timeline. So I can imagine if the show did that as well, that people could be a little confused.
Well, and they decided to add in like a Yennefer backstory, which is not.
That's not at all in the Last Wish.
Yeah.
It's the Last Wish and Sword of Destiny are just basically all Geralt's, and you don't really get to know more about Yennefer until later. So her backstory is kind of like hinted at. You don't really see it, and the show decided to expand on it. And I feel like that expansion wasn't actually the best decision because they tried to create like a magic system, and the magic in Witcher is more of like it's
super soft.
Yeah.
It's very nebulous.
Yes, and I feel like they tried a little too hard to pinpoint, and then Ciri, like they randomly, some of the scenes that they decided to have for her were kind of pointless to me because the actual things that are in the books, they left some of it out because inevitably you have to. But it made certain things pointless. Like the part, I don't want to say for spoilers, but there's a part where she's like visiting these other people. And in the books, Geralt like sees her there. And like that's not what happens in the show. So I'm just like, oh, but that whole part is powerful because of the like destiny aspect behind them constantly like weaving together their lives. And I don't feel like we got in this one, it was more of just like, he shows up and is like, I'm a father figure to you now. That's how it felt to me.
Alan,
you're muted.
Oh, we need to hear him shouting.
My Geralt ends up with Triss.
Why would you bring that up? No.
If your first exposure to The Witcher is the games, Triss is the only one in book 2 that isn't like horrible. Everyone else is trying to murder him.
In game 2.
In the game 2. And then game 3, freaking Yennefer's there and she's mean. And I'm like, why? Like, stop being mean. Like, Yennefer, why are you being mean to my character?
The world is incredibly sexist.
I mean, but I'm not being sexist. I am saving the world. Why is she doing this to me?
Wait, hold on. When you read more of the books, Geralt basically like had commitment issues and then just like left. So I feel like she has reasons to be a little bitter.
He's saving the world.
No, he's not.
He is saving them from the wild hunt.
In The Witcher 3 or the books? I'm talking about the book.
Yes, but the games are my headcanon because
the books are their history, though.
Okay, but why is she yelling at me? Like, why does she teleport me to the top of a cliff? Like, why are you doing that? You have made my quest much more complicated, Yennefer. You know what Triss does? Triss gives me items and heals me when I'm dying.
Triss uses magic to make you be with her. That's what Triss does.
I don't have any knowledge of that. All I know is that Triss heals me and gives me items while Yennefer teleports me off a cliff into the water. That is what I know.
Well, you should know more, and then you'll understand.
Well, look, I do not condone Triss's actions if they be true. That is false.
They are true.
Okay, but I do not condone that. But she helps me with my quest to stop the wild hunt while Yennefer hinders it.
Look, hold on. See?
I have not had experience with that. Therefore, it is not true.
That's definitely a good way to look at things in life.
Yes.
Not my experience, so.
Correct.
I'm just kidding. This has been very fun. I don't know if you guys had any other things you wanted to chat about, but I know you probably want to get on with your day.
This was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy birthday, everybody.
Where's everybody? Ella, you're on West Coast time, right? You're on Arizona. Ella, where are you at, Ella?
I'm in the panhandle of Florida, so I'm in the only part of Florida that's on Central Time.
Wow. Okay. And then where are you at, Hillary?
I'm in the Seattle area.
Seattle. Okay, so you're
nice. My sister-in-law is in Seattle currently as a travel nurse.
Oh yeah, it's I enjoy it.
Are you in the city part of Seattle, or are you more on the outskirts?
No, I'm on the outskirts. Yeah, we're outside the city.
When we went to Washington, we stayed one day in Seattle because I don't like cities. And I was like, why are there so many uphill walks around here? Like, if everything was on an incline, I was so frustrated. I feel like I got more hiking in in Seattle than I did in Mount Rainier and the Quinault Rainforest.
Yeah, it's just like straight up. The whole city is just on like one giant hill.
What a brilliant idea. But yeah, time zone wise, so Arizona's annoying because we don't change when everybody else does. So we just are like, oh, well, we used to be MST, but now we're PST. So
yeah, my super close friend lives in Arizona, and it's so confusing because all of a sudden she's switched to my same time zone now. And I'm like, what happened?
Like when I told you guys the time for this, and I was like, does this time work? And then you guys were saying how far apart it would be. I was like, no, it's not. And I'm like, wait, yes, it is, because it's more now for them. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm on California time now. But except for we don't change. So it's like we just fall into your time. Time zones are stupid. Like, the time zones aren't stupid. Daylight savings is stupid.
Daylight savings is so stupid. I need it to end. I need it to end.
Florida voted to get rid of it 4 years ago, and we still have it.
So I just moved from California not too long ago, and we voted to get rid of it. And they said it's going to take like 6 to 9 years to get through the court system. And I'm like, how hard is it? You voted. Just say it's over.
That is an inefficient court system. That is an inefficient government. If it takes 6 to 9 years to just say, hey, guess what? We're not going to fall back and spring forward.
We're not going to move our clocks anymore.
Just decree it. Just say, guess what? No one turn your clocks back. Done. Guess what?
Decree
I fixed the government. I fixed America. You're welcome. It's done. Fixed. That easy. I don't know what the problem is.
I agree. I feel like everybody should just do what we do and not change times.
Alan, when are you running for government? I'll vote for you.
We'll vote
Never, because I don't have enough money, and I'm not corrupt enough.
You're incorruptible.
I do feel like we would get some pretty fun sound bites of you, though.
Yes, all out of context. I'd be run out of town on a rail.
They would pull World Hopper stuff or like chats like this, and
they would just play the Alan Hates Women clip on repeat.
Yes, yep. And that you don't like generically hot people.
There's nothing wrong with generically hot people. It's just that, like, every show nowadays, this is the difference between British shows and American TV. British TV, they hire based on if they're good or not. This is why you have such weird-looking people on British television. But in America, the first thing that matters is, are they generically attractive? If they are, cool. Acting, that's all second. That's why they all look the same. They could all commit a crime, get in a lineup. I could never pick them out because they all look exactly the same.
I mean, Alan, I have to agree with you because I've said that about the Marvel movies. I said, I guess you're only allowed to have superhero powers if you are extremely attractive. It isn't.
Ugly people don't have superpowers. That's right.
No. Ugly people are not allowed to have superpowers.
No, not at all. It's all true. It's all true. Great. I've seen it in stories.
Well, that's a nice place to end. Is that you can't have superpowers if you're ugly.
That's ridiculous.
That's a nice place to end.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. This was super fun. I wasn't sure. I was like, I hope people don't mind it just being like random hangout. Oh, I don't want to like gang up. The guy that turns into the Hulk is not.
It's a pretty normal looking guy.
Alan for Lord Ruler.
Yes.
I don't want to be Lord Ruler. He's bad.
Or is he?
Or is he?
No one talk anymore. No one say anything else.
Yes, Alan's afraid of a spoiler. So
the spoiler ninjas, spoiler shurikens.
Thank you everybody who came to hang out with us for our birthdays. It was very fun. We're all apparently old people now, especially Alan.
39. One fewer than 2 score.
But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to officially end the broadcast now. So thank you.
Guys.
Had a lot of fun. Bye.